They smile in meetings. They shake hands at summits. They praise India on paper. But behind closed doors, the world's most powerful nations are afraid. Afraid of something they never expected. Afraid of India. Not because of what India is today, but because of what India is about to become. Because for the first time in history, the world is realizing that India's rise is not just real, it's unstoppable. And that is terrifying. I've sat in rooms with global leaders. I've watched how they speak about China. I've heard their concerns about Russia. But when it comes to India, they get quiet. Because they can't control India. They can't predict India. And worst of all, they can't stop what's coming. Because India is not rising the way they expected. It's rising on its own terms. No borrowed models. No colonial hangover. No need for validation. Just quiet, focused, determined movement. Rooted in identity. Powered by intelligence. That's the kind of rise the world doesn't know how to handle. Let me tell you why the superpowers are scared. First, India is young. More than 65% of India's population is under 35. That's over 900 million people thinking, building, coding, dreaming. In a world where aging nations are shrinking, India is expanding, not just in numbers, but in energy. That energy, it's hard to control because it's not angry, it's ambitious. An ambition with memory, that's a nuclear force. Second, India is independent. India doesn't belong to any bloc, not to NATO, not to old empires, not to foreign ideologies. It doesn't follow Washington blindly. It doesn't submit to Beijing's rules. It listens, but it decides for itself. And that terrifies the power brokers because control is their currency and India doesn't need it. India doesn't seek permission. It seeks purpose. And that makes it dangerous, not to peace, but to hegemony. Third, India is spiritual. And here's where the fear goes deeper. Because most powers rely on fear itself. They build armies. They stockpile weapons. They dominate through debt and media. But India doesn't lead with fear. It leads with faith. Faith in culture. Faith in Dharma. Faith in the sacredness of life. And when a country believes in something bigger than the world's systems, it becomes untouchable. You can pressure a government. You can shake an economy. But how do you shake a people who have been through everything and still smile with fire in their eyes? You can't. That's why they fear India. Fourth, India is learning fast. What took the West 200 years to build, India is building in 20. From digital infrastructure to defense technology, from AI startups to space innovation, India is moving like lightning, but with the wisdom of a tortoise, not rushing, but not hesitating either. India watches, learns, adapts, and then acts. And when India acts, it's not for attention, it's for impact. Superpowers can't handle that because they're used to being watched. But now, they are watching India and they don't know how to respond. Fifth, India is unified in its diversity. This one shocks the world the most. How can a nation with over 2,000 ethnic groups, 700 languages, multiple religions, and extreme economic gaps still stay united? It's not just democracy. It's deep, rooted civilizational harmony. India has always known how to live in contradiction. And that's its advantage, because the future is uncertain, complex, chaotic. And the nation that can thrive in chaos, that's the nation that leads. India doesn't fear complexity. India is complexity. That's why it's ready for the future the West is afraid to face. And finally, India has nothing left to lose and everything to gain. India has already faced colonization, poverty, invasions, partition. The worst has happened. Now, it's only upward. That gives India an edge no model can match. Because when a people rise from the ashes, they don't just rise, they fly. India is not rising because the West is falling. India is rising because it was always meant to. And that truth, it's waking up the world. Let me be clear, India is not feared because it's dangerous. It's feared because it's different. It doesn't play by the old rules. It doesn't chase approval. It doesn't seek to imitate. It just moves, grounded in its identity, rooted in its story, Driven by something few nations understand, the spiritual clarity. India knows where it comes from. And because of that, India knows exactly where it's going. And that's what superpowers fear most. Let me tell you what fear really looks like. It's not loud. It's not angry. It's silent. It shows up in the hesitation during a trade deal, in the nervous glance at election results, in the sudden shift in media narratives. That's what's happening now. The superpowers feel it, even if they won't say it. India is no longer waiting. It's walking. And every step India takes makes the old world shake, because India isn't trying to dominate. It's doing something more powerful. It's outgrowing the old world, outgrowing dependence, outgrowing imitation, outgrowing limitation. India is writing its own playbook, and it doesn't need anyone's pen. Let's talk about what the future really looks like. The future isn't just digital. It's deep. It's not just about speed. It's about stability. And that's where India wins. Because while others chase quarterly growth, India builds generational wealth. While others scramble for tech dominance, India aligns innovation with tradition. The superpowers fear this because they've built their strength on disruption. But India's power comes from integration, from merging East and West, logic and heart, prophet and prayer. Where else do you find that? Where else does a young coder touch her grandmother's feet before launching an app that will change millions of lives? Only in India. You see, most powers rise with noise, but India rises with memory. And memory is dangerous to systems built on forgetting. That's why India isn't just rising, India is remembering its role as a teacher, a guide, a stabilizer, a soul in a world spinning too fast. And when a nation remembers who it truly is, nothing can stop it. The global order fears what it cannot classify. And India refuses to be classified. Too democratic to be East. Too ancient to be West. Too spiritual to be capitalist. Too ambitious to be developing. India is not on anyone's timeline. It's on God's timeline. And that scares those who only believe in numbers. Because India's rise isn't just economic. It's existential. It challenges the idea that power must be aggressive. It breaks the myth that technology requires soullessness. It proves that a nation rooted in faith can still lead in science. This kind of rise, you can't compete with it. You can only witness it. And yet, India isn't here to provoke. It's here to protect. Protect the earth. Protect the balance. Protect the spirit of humanity. Because in a world drowning in extremes, India brings the middle path, not weakness, wisdom, not retreat, restraint, not silence, sacred strategy. India doesn't need to shout to be heard. Its vibration speaks louder than speeches. Let's be honest. Why is India feared? Because it holds the power to shift the center of gravity, not just of markets, but of meaning. India is not coming for anyone's throne. It is building a new circle where wisdom leads, not war, where partnership replaces power play, where light replaces fear. That's not just leadership. That's civilizational responsibility. And India is ready for it. Here's the truth I've learned watching India for decades. You can't stop a people who have already seen the worst and still choose to rise with grace. India has nothing to prove, and yet it's proving everything. To those who said it was too divided, too disorganized, too spiritual, too slow, India is answering all of them, not with arguments, but with action. Moon missions, startups, quantum labs, global CEOs, world diplomacy, and all of it rooted in something older than any superpower alive today. That is why they fear India, because you can't beat a nation that rises with soul. So now I ask you, what kind of leader do you want in this world? Another empire? Or a civilization? Another controller? Or a contributor? Another voice shouting? Or a heart guiding? Because India is not the past. India is not the copy. India is the possibility. And the superpowers know it. They don't say it out loud. But the fear is real, because deep down, the world knows India is the future. And the future is already here.